Next speaker, ready? Stefan Battery, welcome.
Thank you, everyone, and sorry for ruining your break. I always get nervous when speaking publicly, so I'm just going to pretend you're not here if you're okay with that. So here at Booksy, we have a pretty simple mission. We want to make appointments easy. And today we are focusing on 5 core markets, with US being half of our business and Europe the other half of the business, with primary focus on the UK, France, Spain, and Poland. And the value of appointments processed via our platform on annualized basis, it's $7 billion US. We've been growing over 80% year over year on average in the past few years. I think we'll be able to accelerate, and I'll tackle that in a few minutes. On annualized basis, people book over 150 million appointments across these 5 markets that I mentioned. And we have over 20 million consumers using our platform, and we acquired all of them practically for free, and I'm going to tackle that on the next slides as well. On the supply side, we have over 115,000 paying subscribers today, and I want to underline paying subscribers because some of our competitors have a freemium model, so they always talk about active subscribers or subscribers, but it's hard to tell how many are really using them, and we believe if someone is paying, it means they see the value, and it's the best proof of our product market fit. And as a company, across these 5 markets, we employ over 700 people. When we decided to launch Booksy a few years ago, we quickly realized that this is one of the last major verticals that had not been digitized. Everyone knows Amazon or Uber or Doctolib here in France, OpenTable, Grubhub, Airbnb in their respective verticals. But when it comes to hair and beauty, the market is still very fragmented, and there is nobody top of mind when you think about scheduling appointments in that space. And that was one of the reasons why we decided to launch Booksy. The market is super fragmented. It's predominantly it's SMBs and independent contractors, large enterprise chains, depending on the market, but it's usually around 5% of the total addressable market. So this is a great environment to create a marketplace, and that's why we thrive in that space. So we are helping both the supply and the demand to take the hassle out of the booking process, and for that we created 2 apps, Booksy for consumers and Booksy Biz for the providers, and Booksy Biz is available both on tablets and on smartphones. 9 years ago, when we were launching Booksy, we felt that that was the right way to move into that vertical, because most of the people who work in that space, they are busy working with their hands. Most of them don't even have computers, but they all carried smartphones with them. And we felt that by putting a very powerful tool that would fit their pocket, would enable them to make more money, would enable them to grow their business, would enable them to provide better customer service for their clients. One thing we did not realize, and today we are very proud of that, is that we are also changing their lifestyle. When we were launching Booksy, I guess we were focused obviously on the business side of it. We wanted to make it an amazing business, and we wanted to provide value to the consumers, and we perceived Booksy as a productivity app or as a business app. Today, the longer we run the company, the more we realize that this is also a lifestyle app, because we have providers, we have stylists and barbers reaching out to us literally every single day, every single week, thanking us for changing their lifestyle, for helping them to provide for their families, to live healthier lifestyle. We even had a guy who called us from a hospital with FaceTime video showing us his wife delivering a baby, and when I'm not kidding you. That's a real story. And when the customer service agent asked him like, why are you calling us? I feel a little bit awkward looking at your wife and in this situation. Maybe you should call someone from your family. And he said, you are my family. Before Booksy, I did not have any time to get romantic with my wife. And that's what he said. And I would not be able to provide for my family, and Booksy provided me that security. Now I can make enough money to provide for a family. I personally had a phone call from a husband of a stylist who thanked me for saving his marriage, because he said before Booksy, his wife always had FOMO. Like in the evening when she came back from work, she always had her phone with her, and they never went out to a dinner or to movies, because if she didn't take the calls from her clients late evening or even at night, she wouldn't have anyone sitting in her chair the next day. And that's what I mean when I say that we are changing lives of literally tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. I mentioned we have over 115,000 businesses, but when you multiply that by number of their employees, we are talking about hundreds of thousands of people that work with Booksy, and on daily basis we are helping them not only to make more money, not only to be more successful, but also to spend more time with their loved ones, to spend more time doing what they enjoy. I mentioned that in the past we've been growing pretty strong, but we believe that we can accelerate from now on. Something that we consider as our unfair competitive advantage is the flywheel that we have built. And that's one of the reasons why we are focusing on the 5 markets that I mentioned. In the past, we had presence across over a dozen markets. And the bigger we are, the more we realize that this is a winner-takes-all dynamics. And there is no prize for being second or third. So we pulled out from Mexico, we pulled out from South Africa, from Argentina, from India, from the Philippines, from Singapore, and we are focusing on the markets that really matter, which, as I mentioned, is the US and 4 markets in Europe. The bigger we grow, the more providers we have using Booksy, the more consumers they bring. And then the more consumers we have, obviously the more salons want to join Booksy, because the more value they get from the platform. So we have classical network effects here, because the value of the product grows with the value of the network. The more consumers we have, the more providers want to join us, because it's not only the scheduling system and the business management system we provide them, but it's also access to millions of the consumers, and the other way around. The more providers we have, the more consumers are downloading Booksy, because we give them choice. We give them a great platform, a great search and discovery platform to find new salons. And I mentioned that 20 million consumers we have using the platform today. We acquired them practically for free, because we don't do B2C marketing. We hardly spend any money on B2C acquisition. We acquired the demand through the supply. So with every single salon that joins Booksy, we acquire all of their clients for free, because they can only get the value out of Booksy once they push it to their existing clients. And that's how we were able to build the flywheel and enter new markets. So thanks to that, we've been the fastest growing player in this space, and we have more monthly active users daily active users and more app downloads every single day than all of our competitors combined. And I'll let the graph to speak for itself. So how do we monetize? Our bread and butter is subscriptions. So we charge the supply for using the product. And the business model is fairly simple. We charge almost $30 per month for independent staffers, and then $20 for every extra seat. So the more employees they have, the more they pay us for using the SaaS platform. And this is US pricing, by the way. Across other markets, the structure... Did I do something wrong? Okay. However, the structure is pretty much the same. It's just different currencies and maybe slightly different price point, depending on the purchasing power in that market. So SaaS is our bread and butter, and this is how we take the flywheel off the ground, and this is how we build the initial inertia. And as we continue to grow in local markets, and by local markets, We consider cities and metro areas, and as we start getting more and more consumers using Booksy, and the flywheel gets stronger, people start what we call cross-booking. So they start going to other salons, they start using Booksy as a search and discovery platform, and then we allow the providers to position themselves higher on the listing, and this is what we called Boost or Marketplace. So once we have liquidity in local markets, we start monetizing with Boost as our second revenue stream. And in our most successful cities, more than half of our revenue already comes from Boost. In our best cities, 2/3 of revenues is Boost versus 1/3 is subscription. So the more mature market, the more favorable the structure towards Boost. And last but not least is payments. We just revamped our entire payment stack and migrated from ADN to Stripe. Even though the penetration is relatively low today, we see it as a huge opportunity with 7 billion GMV that I mentioned. Even if we, on a net basis, monetize only 1%, at 1% rate, it's gonna be an amazing business and an upside to our model, which already is pretty good. So you all know what happened last year and what most startups have had to go through. And after 8 years of growing at all costs, we decided to switch gears to efficient growth. And we were able to maintain our growth rate. In fact, we are starting to see that we are accelerating, while at the same time taking the company to break-even point and generating 17% positive EBITDA. So on the Rule of 40 scale that put us in July almost at 70%. And as I mentioned, as the flywheel is getting stronger and stronger, we believe that we'll be accelerating, and our best markets are already growing faster than the overall company. And as more markets get to liquidity point, we believe that the overall growth is gonna accelerate as well. And last but not least, we also believe that we have a few other opportunities to monetize even better. As I mentioned, today we are monetizing through SaaS, marketplace, and payments. The next logical step for us would be supply chain and e-commerce. We already have brands like L'Oreal, Vela, Schwarzkopf, and others reaching out to us actively. And I think I can use the word begging us to give them access to over 100,000 salons we have on the platform. They want to optimize their supply chain and last mile, and they see Booksy as a crucial player to help them accessing those salons. We are also thinking about embedded fintech. First, we need to tap into the payment flow, and we'll be focusing on payments. But 2-3 years from now, we are also thinking about short-term loans. And we know everything about the salons that are using us. We know more about them than banks and IRS because we know how much money they are making. We know how many clients are coming back, how many clients they are losing, how fast they are growing or maybe declining in some cases. So we could underwrite it better than anyone else. And we believe that some kind of that loan is going to be another product on the payment stack. Advertising, I personally would use it as the last resort for us because I don't like to ruin the user experience and provider experience with unnecessary advertising. But again, we think we can combine it in a very smart way with supply chain and e-commerce. A lot of people that are using Booksy, they consider themselves as artists. They are hairstylists, they are nail stylists. They love to make people feel pretty and beautiful, but they are not necessarily very tech savvy nor business savvy. And they hate to be perceived as salesmen. They hate pushing products to people. So with millions, tens of millions of consumers that we have, we believe that we can weave in marketing somewhere there in the booking process. Because if we know that somebody is booking a haircut with a beard trim, we can assume they have a beard, and maybe we can upsell them beard oil. If somebody is booking pedicure or manicure, then we can maybe upsell some products that would be relevant to those services. So we'll be thinking how to use that opportunity. Another great opportunity is a job marketplace. A lot of these stylists are looking for new salons, and a lot of salons are looking to fill in chairs. And again, with hundreds of thousands of people that are using Booksy, we know who the good stylists are, we know who the good salons are, so we can provide some kind of a platform to match the supply and demand on the job marketplace. But these are all like future ideas. Today we want to have focus, and we want to execute on what we already have, and we believe that this is already an amazing business, and everything else will come when a good time, like when we think there is a good time to launch those new opportunities. So thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to take any questions you have.
Thank you for the presentation. Have a seat, yeah. So, if you have any questions, just raise your hand and we'll see to attend them. Yeah, we can start over here if we have a mic in the front here.
So today you are in the United States and 4 other markets. Would you consider entering new markets? Can you win them as well?
The short answer is yes. We could win virtually almost every market that's out there. We believe that most of markets are up for grabs, maybe except of Japan and Sweden and Poland. These are the 3 that have already been dominated by 2 peers of ours, Recruit Holding in Japan and Buka Direct in Sweden. Poland is obviously market taken by Booksy. But as I mentioned, we need to focus on winning the 4 other markets, and the US is the biggest beauty market in the world, and like going after, with all due respect, Czechia or Hungary or even Mexico doesn't make sense if that would distract us from winning the US. So we want to focus on winning the US first, and I believe 2, 3, 4 years from now, it's still going to be a good time to go after all those other markets.
Understand. And are there any particular states in the United States where you are exceptionally strong today?
We are very strong in Florida, relatively strong in Texas, California, and New York State, and Illinois. So these are the top 5 states for Booksy, but these are also 5 out of 6 or 7 states with most population. So I would say these are the usual suspects, but Florida is definitely our stronghold.
And do you know why you succeeded there?
Yes, so 5 years ago, when we realized that this is a winner-takes-all dynamics, and we decided to double down on the first 3 markets, we had chosen Orlando and Tampa in Florida and San Antonio in Texas. So that was the initial decision we made back in 2018.
And if you succeed in one big city, does it spread to closer cities in the same state, or not as easy?
It does, and it helps a little bit. There is some spillover both on the local level and also national and global level. So we don't have time to go really deep into our acquisition loops, but today I focus only on the B2C and C2B, and I mentioned that the stronger we grow, the bigger we grow, the more supply we have, the more demand comes to Booksy, and the more demand we have, the more supply comes to Booksy. But we also have B2B and C2C loops. C2C is pretty self-explanatory because people that are happy with our app, they just share it with their family and friends. And the same applies to businesses when they are happy using Booksy. And somebody asks them like, hey, what do you use for scheduling? Then the bigger we are on the supply side, that also helps us with the B2B loop. And those, especially the B2B loop, it has like spillover not only on hyper-local level, but also on national and global level. We can particularly see that in markets where we have 0 presence, like Australia. We are not focusing on Australia at all, but because we have pretty strong presence in the US and in the UK, then a few hundred people from Australia just started using Booksy with 0 marketing, and like we allow them to pay us some money.
Okay, very impressive. Thank you.
A follow-up question on that. You mentioned Buka Direct. I think Per knows them very well, and a part of some other people in this room, wouldn't it make sense for you to do an acquisition of, for example, let's say Bokadirekt that has a strong market presence in Sweden, you know, just benefit of kind of synergies of that scale?
Maybe long term it would, but today there wouldn't be any synergies because Bokadirekt operates as an independent company. They have a different tech stack, different platform. There are no network effects between Sweden and other European markets where we are present, and no network effects between the markets we are in, because like France and Spain and Poland and the UK are like totally different markets. However, there would be a benefit of scale, but only if Bokadirekt used the Booksy platform. So it would make sense, but not immediately. And I think there are a couple other M&As that would serve us much better, especially in the markets we are going after today, to consolidate that space and to lock in these markets. But maybe long-term partnering up with Bokadirekt and couple other local champions would make sense for us. But I think it's too early to even start thinking about that.
Okay, great answer. We have a question from up here.
Yeah, so 2 questions. You have a lot of growth venues, obviously, but could you just help us with the importance of the different ones that you mentioned throughout the presentation? Like if you were to rank them, is this a focus of just adding more salons, or is it a focus of increasing or optimizing prices? If you could add some more color on that.
I'm not sure I understood the question.
Yeah, so you mentioned a lot of different avenues you have to grow through. So if you could help us rank the importance of these. And I mean, in a market that you're participating in, which is a winner-takes-it-all market, the price dynamic is also quite interesting. If you could describe that more.
So let me start with the second half of your question. The price plays a role, but it's a little bit counterintuitive because one might think that if you offer your product for free, it's gonna remove the entry barrier and you would grow faster through that. And we have tried that at least 3 times, if my memory serves today, and in every single case, we didn't really see the benefits from that. If anything, that helped us with the top of the funnel, but the quality of the acquisition was really poor, and the providers that were going after a free product were usually the worst quality providers, and we decided not to continue those tests. We also have a couple of competitors that are offering a premium product, and we don't see them growing faster than we are. So if they are not growing faster and we are generating revenue from subscription, then it just doesn't make sense to give it up for free. When it comes to priorities, I believe that the provider acquisition and SaaS is the most important one because we are in a land grab phase. It doesn't really matter if somebody monetizes better through payments or any other product if eventually they are gonna get pushed out of that market. So to lock in the market, acquisition of new providers is the most important thing, and obviously that makes the SaaS subscription the most important revenue stream. But once we lock in a market, and that's a case in Poland, and that's what we are starting to see happening in several cities in Spain, and this is what we are starting to see in some markets in the US, then we are starting to prioritize on boost on payments.
Okay, I was actually thinking the opposite, that if you lock in a market, so to say, and really becoming the number one choice, you probably have some potential to increase prices to the salons.
Yeah, absolutely. So on that note, we increased the SaaS prices in Poland in February this year and February last year, and the impact on churn was neglectable. So I don't know how long we are going to continue increasing the prices, but definitely once we dominate in a local market, we have that pricing power, and we can do that, and we want to do that to some to a certain point, because we want to make sure we not only extract the value, but we also deliver value to our providers. So that's why we are thinking about those other revenue streams in the future. So we not only extract value and increase monetization, but we continue delivering them value while increasing our prices.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you talk about long-term margin aspiration and the profitability you're delivering in Poland at the moment, which is your most mature market, please?
So Poland today has 72% EBITDA margin. The US is around 50% EBITDA margin. Other markets, the UK is at 20%, if I remember that correctly, and France and Spain are slightly negative, but in the next few months, 6-9 months, they both should turn profits. And we believe that 75-80% EBITDA margin on a country basis, that's something we can achieve. And it's gonna be difficult to increase that because payments usually have lower profit margins. So as we grow with payments, it's gonna be dragging us down, but Boost is a 100% margin product for us because we don't need to spend any money on B2C acquisition, as I mentioned, and we are just recycling, if you will, the consumers that we already have. So this is why Boost is such a highly profitable product for us. SaaS is an 89-90% gross profit product. So on blended basis, as I mentioned, I believe we can get to 80%. As a company, I think at scale, we should be able to get to 50-60% margin.
Great. I think we have to end it on that. So thank you very much, Stefan, for the presentation and for the good answers.
Thank you.